Welcome to Surviving to Thriving for Highly Sensitives. I'm your host, Amy Goen, and I am a high sensitivity coach. And this show is all about helping you to go from struggling, feeling overwhelmed, not feeling comfortable, feeling like an outsider, to really being able to embrace your trait, develop self-compassion, develop all of those tools that you can use to minimize that overwhelm feeling and really embrace that part of you, that sensitive part of you, and make it your superpower that it really is. It really is a gift when we can have the right tools and move out of that place of overwhelm and feeling wrong and weird and like you need to be fixed. And I'm here to just remind you every week that you do not need to be fixed and you are amazing. And I want to give you all the tools to help you in that journey. So this month we've been talking about calming the nervous system, which is so important for highly sensitives in particular. Everyone, needs these tools, but for us, it's really that much more important because our nervous system really does start at a different place. It's more amped, and we just don't have as much room to fit everything in. So it's super important. And it doesn't have to be a major project to be able to calm the nervous system. So last time I talked about breathing, which you can do anywhere, anytime. And we're going to talk today a little bit more about some things that you can also do anywhere, anytime that doesn't take very much, clock time at all, a little bit of focus. And that's about it. So we're going to talk today about mindful practices or mindfulness practices. And you probably hear a lot about that these days. And, it's really quite simple. It's just being mindful in some ways is trying to be mindless, but just calming down our focus on everything and just bringing us again to center, to the very moment that we're in, and not worrying about what happened in the past or what's going to happen in the future, and just be in this moment. So meditation, which I'll talk about next week, is a really great way to, of course, be in the moment, be in that present state. But it doesn't require meditation. And it really is just kind of an overall view of life of being more mindful, more present in that moment, instead of letting our squirrel brain, monkey brain just go crazy all the time. So one really easy way to do this is to not even have to change any of your activities, but pay attention to the moment, to the actual activities that you're engaged in as you go out throughout your day. So for example, you can pick something like washing your dishes. So it's a chore, it's a mundane task, right? But if you pay attention to every experience as you're going through, it becomes centering, meditative, if you will, a mindful practice. You're going to do dishes whether you're mindful or not. But if you take that opportunity to say, well, I'm going to use this time anyway, I might as well use it in a way that's going to help me calm my nervous system. So as you're washing those dishes, you can pay attention to the feeling, the texture of the water, the warmth of it as it goes across your hands. You can pay attention to the designs on your plates or whatever, is just being aware of that moment that you are just washing dishes, but pay attention to washing those dishes. And then for one thing, time tends to go a little more smoothly, a little more quickly, something like that, if you're focused on that. And before you know, you're done with your dishes, and it kind of makes your tasks a little bit easier. But it also really is great for bringing you into that moment so that you are letting go of all of that other stuff and just recharging that nervous system, allowing your body to calm. Excuse me. So then again, we can get out of that fight or flight, freeze fawn mode of that brain constantly worrying about the past and thinking about the future and all of that, and shifting into that rest and digest so we can just be calm and at peace. So examples of other things would be a walking meditation. So if you are really good at getting yourself outside for some exercise or for having that interaction with nature, because we tend to really connect deeply with nature, and that's moving for us, it's a great way to recharge, re-energize, give ourselves some love, making that connection with nature. So when you are out walking, and it doesn't have to be in nature, say you're in the city for the day or that's where you live. I mean, if you're walking anywhere, you can do this. You just start to pay attention to where you're walking, instead of, okay, yeah, I know how to walk, I don't have to think about this, and so my brain's going to engage and problem solve the whole time I'm doing this. But if you decide to make that a mindful practice, then you pay attention to the feel of your feet as you're hitting the pavement or the grass or the dirt trail or wherever it is that you are. You pay attention to how that feels as you're putting each foot down each time. You pay attention to what you might hear in your whole area. If you're in the city, you're going to hear, of course, city noises, the cars and people talking and things like that. If you're out in nature, you can hear things like the breeze through the trees and squirrels running up the trees, and just all kinds of the sound of your feet on whatever, the path, the grass, whatever it is that is under your feet. You can pay attention to all of those sounds. You can also pay attention to anything that you're smelling. I'm at the coast right now, so I can step outside and smell the salt in the air. Sometimes we can smell flowers. Sometimes you can, smell the dirt or whatever that, I keep forgetting what that word is today, but whatever you're walking on, that surface, if you will, you can pay attention to all of those potential smells, and then you listen for everything. So all of your senses, whatever you see, every little detail of the branches, the petals on the flowers, the motion that the birds create in the trees as they're flitting around, all of those things you can be really aware of in that moment, all of those senses. So as you're walking, turn it into a meditation, just paying attention to every little thing that's happening around you, every one of your senses that you can connect with. And that becomes a re-energizing, calming, at the same time, experience for your nervous system, and helps you kind of reboot and stay in that moment and quiet down that mind. And there are so many different, things that you can be doing throughout the day, of course, right? Anything, you're doing laundry, in the laundry room, you are doing things for work. And if you don't have to think really, really focused way, but you're doing like checking emails and stuff like that, just be aware that you are in that moment doing that project instead of trying to problem solve the next one that's coming, and just stay focused on the here and now. And another one that's really, really important in terms of, nutrition and how we take care of our bodies and that kind of thing. And actually, a lot of times high sensitivity can lead to a lot of people experiencing digestive issues and various things like that with our diet, with our eating. So if we can use our eating actually as a mindful practice, it accomplishes things on, across the board, not just the nutrition and not just the mindfulness, but those together and other things as well. So if you focus on your eating and make that it doesn't have to be like a ceremony necessarily, but make it, a nice practice that you actually put your energy into, your focus into, instead of eating, a lot of people eat on the run, they're eating and they're, they're on the computer, they're doing all of these different things while they're eating. So that, for one, is not very nutritious in a way that our body will take that, because it's kind of trying to take in that nice food at the same time of being kind of in that fight or flight mode, right? It's like I'm doing. I don't even have time to slow down to eat my lunch. Then your body's not going to take that in and process it as well as if you just say, this time is for eating and I'm just going to eat. And then as you do that, you can focus on the texture, the temperature, the taste, the flavors, how all of that works together, and the presentation, which sometimes inspires you to make it look nice and pretty before you even start eating, because you're paying attention to the visuals of it. But as you are eating, just paying attention to each spoonful, each forkful as it goes in, you're aware of those flavors and textures, and you really pay attention to what that's like and have that experience, instead of rushing through and just trying to get your lunch done, your meal done in 10 minutes or less, and hurry on to the next thing. If you take that time to say, oh yeah, I'm going to really pay attention to what I'm eating. So by the time you're done, you can say, I had this and it was like this. And it was this great experience. Because a lot of times if you think back, like, oh, what did I have for lunch? And sometimes you can't even remember, right? Because you just whisked through it so fast so that you could go on to your next project or whatever. and you didn't really have that full-on experience of enjoying that meal. So that's another really easy, very effective way of being mindful and just, enjoying that moment. And it really enriches your life in general. If you can have many, many moments like that throughout the day where you're just enriched by that experience, you don't have to do anything differently. You just recognize it, kind of like having a practice of gratitude. You're saying, oh, I recognize I have this amazing food and I'm going to enjoy it right now, instead of just taking it for granted and moving on as fast as possible. So really, really easy way to just be in that moment, be mindful. And you can do it anytime, anywhere, another really simple technique. So another thing would be paying attention to sound, but not necessarily like if you're out walking in the forest, that's great. Or you're walking in the city and you're paying attention, that like kind of mindful meditation. But also if you just do it, this is a type of meditation, if you will, but it's not like a focused in, long-term, be there for 10, 15, 20 minutes, whatever. And you can do this again, anywhere at all. You don't have to be in a meditation, posture or anything like that. All that stuff I'll talk about next week. But if you have just, 30 seconds, a minute, and you just decide to pay attention to all of the sounds in whatever space that you're at. So if there's a clock, you can probably hear the clock ticking. So focus just on the clock ticking. And, if normally it annoys you and you have to quiet it, that would be me. It's like, oh, I can't be in this room. That clock is too loud and I have to move it. But if I'm having a meditation like this, where I'm really focused on sounds, then that works fairly well. I can just focus on that and say, oh, okay, what's the cadence? I mean, obviously it's going to be every second, but all clocks are different. So I'm going to zoom in on that. What is that like? I can hear that. Okay, now I move on to maybe there's a dog barking in the neighborhood. And again, maybe that's normally annoying, but now you're going to just to focus on it and put your mind there, your attention there. What kind of sound is that? Is it playful? Is it threatening? Is it sound like a big dog, a little dog? What are the nuances of that particular sound? And probably while you're doing that, you're going to stop focusing on the clock. And you won't even notice that anymore, because you're really fine tuning your focus on that dog barking. And then maybe you hear the heater come on, or if you're in front of a wood stove or a fire, you can hear this. So pay attention to all of those sounds, everything that you can hear in that room, but one at a time. And, it should not be like an overwhelming experience because you have so many things going on. It's just paying attention to one thing at a time. Maybe there's rain outside and you focus on that. Great. Just pay attention to, is it a light soothing sound? Is it, torrential? What is that like? Just paying attention to all of those sounds. And if you do that for 30 seconds, a minute, it helps that nervous system to calm down. You're in that mindful place, enjoying just the moment, and your head, stops. You stop all that thinking, and it's a much more enjoyable moment. And then it helps you to move on forward because you are in that calmer state. So those are just some really simple ideas on what you can do to calm the nervous system just by being in that moment, being focused in that present experience, that present moment. And anything that you can do to just bring yourself back is a really great practice. And a lot of those things can happen, throughout your day, and you don't have to make extra time for it. So another thing that I'm going to take you through is called a body scan. And again, this can be very brief. You can do it in a minute, or you can spend 5 minutes doing it. You can spend longer. But if you're just trying to stay, mindful and in the moment, it's really easy to do for just a minute or two. And I'm going to take you through an example, guide you through that so that you can have that as a baseline to use anytime. But again, you can actually do this even with your eyes open somewhere. If you're at work and you're just like, oh, I need a body scan, but I don't want anybody to be wondering what I'm doing with my eyes closed. You can just kind of stare off a little bit, or, act as though you're reading a book or you're engaged in something, and then just shift your focus on that and go internally and imagine that you're doing the same thing that you would have with your eyes closed. So you really can do this anywhere. But wherever you are right now, and you're watching this, you probably have a few minutes to just focus. So wherever you're sitting, just pay attention to where you're sitting and see if you're comfortable. Make sure you're in a comfortable position. And then if you're comfortable, go ahead and close down your eyes. And again, if that's not comfortable, just kind of stare off at a point, maybe 45 degrees out from you at the floor or the wall. So if you're great with, closing your eyes, go ahead and do that. And then the purpose of this is only to be in the moment. So you don't need to change anything. So it's not like there's an end result when you're done to see if you did it right. It's merely a practice to help you just be in the moment. So you're not going to be actually doing anything, and you don't have to change anything. So go ahead and, focus in, and I'm going to take you through different parts of your body, and you're just going to pay attention. And that's all. We're going to give permission for it to shift if it wants, but there's no like, okay, I'm going to try to let go of this. Or I'm going to try to change that. The idea for this one specifically is just to be in that moment and be aware. So we're going to start at the top of the head. So if you're comfortable with your eyes closed, go ahead and maintain that. Allow the breathing to go ahead and slow and be relaxed and deep. That's always really helpful for calming that nervous system. And then just pay attention. Again, you're not doing anything. Just pay attention to the top part of your head from, say, your nose up and around to the backside of your skull. And just notice what does that feel like? Is there any tension? Is there a temperature that you're aware of? Maybe it's kind of floaty or bristly or just tense. I mean, notice what it feels like. And you don't have to change anything. We're just being aware. So just notice if anything is there at all. And that's all we're doing, is just noticing. And now you're going to move down to, say, below your nose, down to your neck. So your jaw, your ears, depending on if you included that before, the very base of your neck, anything else that's left in your head. And you're just noticing. So again, if there's, a tension level or a pain, you notice that. If it feels light and airy and there's, nothing going on, then you notice that. So you're just being aware. And now you're going to go down and focus on your throat and upper chest, your shoulders, and the very top of your back. And just notice, see what you see. See what you feel. Just be aware. And now you move your focus down to your belly, your lower chest, your lower back. And again, just noticing what are you aware of there that you hadn't noticed? What might be talking a little bit? Maybe there's some tension. Maybe you're not aware of any kind of feeling. Maybe it's kind of warm, or maybe you're cold there. Maybe it feels like something's kind of congested or tight. Whatever it is, you're just noticing. And at any point, anything you're feeling as you go, you can give it permission, like, oh, I wonder if it wants to relax, if there's some tension there. But we're not trying to make that happen. So just allow that, whatever that is that's happening. And then now going from your biceps and triceps down to your elbow. Just notice not having to do anything. We're not tightening. We're not trying to release. We're just being aware. And then be aware of your lower arms and your hands. And they can be any position. There's no right or wrong here. We're just noticing what they're doing. So are your hands warm? Are they cold? Are they kind of clammy? Are they tight? Just notice, being aware, not having to change anything at all. And then we go down and focus on your hip and glute area. Just again, noticing, you might be aware of the seat that you're sitting on, what that feels like, the angle that you're sitting at. Just notice, be aware. Nothing you need to do. Just allow that breathing to still be nice and deep and long, focusing in the moment. And as with meditation, if your mind starts to wander, even though you're listening to my voice, because that happens quite frequently, just come back to paying attention to that body go to the part that I just mentioned recently and just allow that to be part of the process. There's no judgment. It happens all the time. And now we go and focus on the upper legs, the quads and the hamstrings down to your knees. And again, just noticing there's no right, wrong. Nothing has to change. And now move down to your lower legs and your feet. Just be aware. And again, are your feet warm or cold? Can you feel socks or shoes or carpet or whatever's under your feet? If there's any tension in your calves, just being aware. Anything at all is okay. And then go ahead and take a nice deep breath. And as you exhale, just kind of scan really quickly through your whole body again, all the way from the head through the neck and the shoulders, the chest, the belly, down to the glutes, the legs, down to the feet, all the way through the arms and the fingers. And just see if anything might actually even be different than it was, and give permission. Things will release or shift. So it might be a little different right now than when we started, which is all good. And again, you're just noticing. And when you're ready, if you've had your eyes closed, go ahead and open them. Just be aware of yourself in the room where you're sitting. And then just see if it feels any different now compared to when you started the body scan. You might be a little bit more relaxed. You might be more focused on something. Wow, I didn't realize I had so much tension in my shoulders. Okay, maybe there's something I'll do later to kind of release that if that hasn't released just by doing this exercise. But again, this is just to bring you into the moment and allow that nervous system to calm. You can do this as often as you want throughout the day. If you start with it, that's great, just to kind of get your day going from a calm place. But you can do it anytime you feel really tense is a really great time to do it. You can do your breathing. You can just pay attention to everything in the room. You can try the body scan. So there's lots of techniques that you can do just to be in the moment and allow that nervous system the time to calm down, to reset, to be able to allow more information in, which is our main goal, to minimize that overwhelm by calming that nervous system. So hopefully that gives you, some good ideas to get that nervous system, in that calm mode. And you can start adding these practices, incorporating them into your daily routine as often as you can think about it, just so that you can be trying to calm that nervous system in a conscious way, because, we can have ideas in our head about it. And then next thing we know, we haven't thought about it for a few days, like, oh, right, I was going to try to be mindful, or I was going to try this meditation or do this breathing practice or whatever. And then we just kind of forget. So if we try to make it an everyday occurrence, okay, this is my day to focus on a body scan. So I'm going to try to do that multiple times throughout the day. Or maybe you identify a different thing each day, but all these tools that we're going to be doing are great to just have in your little toolbox. And then if you're feeling tense or just a way to practice every single day to get that nervous system in a calmer place. So again, always feel free to reach out. My information is on the show page, and I've got a link in there to my online course. So if you'd like to go in a little bit deeper on some of the stuff that I'm doing, that is available. And it's, of course, self-timed. You can take as long as you would like to go through that. And I'm really glad to have you here. And next week, we will be continuing this idea of calming the nervous system. And it'll be, again, in just a few minutes, but in a different way. We'll be focused on meditation. So looking forward to seeing you then. And I will see you next time. Have a really great time. Stop.